don't drink that.
What? Why?
It has ovasitol in it.
Oh my God, what's gonna happen to me?
Nothing. It's a supplement for women with PCOS. I mix it with water and it doesn't taste like anything. Ovasitol is a special blend of inositols and it helps heal my cravings, regulate my period, and improve my mood. So don't accidentally drink it.
Oh my God, I'm getting a period.
No, it just helps with blood sugar control. For many women with PCOS like me, insulin resistance is one of the root issues underneath all these awful symptoms. Here's how it works, babe. When we eat, it's broken down into sugar, and the lovely insulin hormone takes that and gives it to our cells to get burned up. But when our cells are resistant, insulin is left floating around in the bloodstream, making us think we're still hungry, leading to awful cravings. Not just that, insulin triggers high testosterone, which affects my period and my mood.
So I'm not getting my period.
No, babe, you're not. But I am. This episode is brought to you by Pure Spectrum CBD. Sirak and I have been taking CBD and we are loving it.
I'm holding the tincture right now. Tallene, can you open your mouth, please?
Now?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a dosage. Now, keep it there for 60 seconds. While she does that, let me tell you the great benefits of CBD for PCOS. Studies show it reduces cortisol, improves insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation. You can go to purespectrumcbd.com now to order and use the code THESISTERHOOD, one word, at checkout for 20% off. Now, Tallene, hold it for 30 seconds longer while the sisters enjoy the show.
Welcome to A Sister and Her Mister, a podcast where we show you the real behind the scenes of how we balance the PCOS lifestyle in our marriage, gluten and dairy free. I'm Tallene, your fellow sister and registered dietitian.
And I'm Sirak, husband, engineer, and PCOS personal trainer. We're going to make PCOS a little less overwhelming and a lot more fun.
Sister and Mister.
Oh my gosh, how funny. The turtle's on a cookbook called Incredible Sugar-Free Bakes.
Yeah, so you finally got your turtle, but I don't see how the turtle and the book are related.
The podcast is about sugar.
Oh,
That's why.
yeah.
If you're not watching on YouTube, you should see right now. We have this new planter, and it's a turtle.
Not a real turtle, if you thought
It's
that.
brass turtle.
Gold, one might say.
And
Brass.
we put a succulent in it, and it's super cute. I'm turning into the crazy plant lady.
And I'm turning into the crazy plant husband who's been
Yes.
infected by her wife and is now growing veins out of his brain.
Oh my God. Well, because we can't have a, super extravagant 1-year anniversary on May 27th.
Oh, yeah. We should talk about that.
We're going on a crazy plant lady extravaganza that I'm
Yeah.
taking Sirak on, might I say.
You taking me on. Wow. Okay.
I'm taking you on
How the roles have
crazy,
reversed.
on a crazy plant lady road.
So our anniversary is on the 27th of May, and basically, as most of you know, and most of you are aware, we can't go anywhere. Restaurants are shut down. No flights to anywhere. Basically,
We can't
hotels
go to
and
the
trips are out the
beach.
window.
Yeah.
So we said, let's make it, let's do something about this. Let's
Special.
make it special and unique. And maybe there's many in your situation, people in our situation right now who
Yeah,
can't do
canceling
anything.
weddings and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, there's worse than not having a special 1-year anniversary.
Of course. I mean, yeah, we could be not married. Like this,
Yeah,
there's my
we could-
friend who was about to get
Yeah,
married, or two of our
same.
friends who was about to get married in the next couple of months, and they postponed it, which totally sucks. But hey, at
Gotta
least they're
make the
saving
best
money.
of it. Yeah, saving money.
But
So anyways, we're going down the road of crazy plant lady,
yeah,
and we took our bookshelf, put it outside, and now we have more space to put more plants.
yeah. There's basically now a bookshelf on the patio to put. Guess what? Plants, not books.
Succulents.
It's called the plant shelf now.
I'm so excited.
And
I
then we're
even
gonna-
Googled how to plant things properly. I'm sorry. I just want to share this.
No,
with
I'm happy with your
And
excitement.
apparently, when you're making a beautiful arrangement of succulents, ladies, you have to have 3 different styles of plants, apparently. Ones that drip down, the ones that cascade over the pot, ones that fill the pot, and then ones that stand out and are showstoppers.
So there's
maybe a
3
colored
layers
one.
to this whole conundrum.
Yeah. So yesterday we went shopping. We found a few, but they all seem to be filler ones. They don't seem to be ones that drip out of the pot. So we need to continue on our quest for the perfect succulents.
We have 12 days until the patio extravaganza, in which
Yeah.
we're going to not completely, but we're going to basically plant up the patio by adding like maybe a raised bed,
hanging
window
from
boxes,
the balcony, string lights,
So right now-
succulents everywhere.
Right now it's all about what can we get. Let's get everything together. So on our anniversary, we'll basically go wild planting stuff
Yeah.
and hey, at least it's a lot better than just sitting inside and watching TV or like basically just being sad that we can't go out. We're doing something about it, and I hope everybody else is doing something similar.
Yeah, it could just be one flower plant. Makes me so happy.
Man, like
Brightens up the room.
I was not a plant person before I married Tallinn, but my dad was like straight up into gardening. I see it now. It's very relaxing,
Very.
potting a plant, transporting it, and like seeing it grow, taking care of it. It takes a lot of patience because, a plant's not going to make a change or grow like 10 inches in one day.
Yeah.
It's all about
PCOS.
Exactly.
Slowly but
I didn't even
surely.
try to do that, but yeah.
No, I just sweep that right in there.
Perfect.
It's like slowly but surely, and then a year goes by and it's like, our olive tree is a beautiful bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't crazy with plants before we got married, but now look around, Sirak, we have 5 trees in an apartment
true.
of all things.
It's great. So yeah, by the time
So,
by the time you guys listen to this, we'll probably already have redone the patio because we're a couple of episodes ahead.
Oh, yeah.
You will see the results. We'll post the results after this episode is released, so you can see exactly what we did before and after, and let us know if you liked it.
Yeah.
We'll even link the plants that we got or like the names of the plants we got, so you know like what we did. Maybe you can do the same thing.
Yes.
All right. Today's episode is gonna be amazing, just like all the ones before. But this one, I love it. Personally, I love this topic.
Yeah.
Tallinn,
Sirak's very passionate about
Yeah,
this since
I've
the day
known-
we met.
I've known about sugar and its effects for a while now. For the last like 6-7 years, I've learned a lot about it,
I can't
even
wait to
before
hear.
Tallinn. So I'm looking very forward to today's topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially a passionate topic for both of us because we both, at one point in our childhoods, really loved sugar, like
Everyone.
most children. Yeah.
And the topic is, what was the exact topic?
Oh, sugar and how to develop a savory palate and get through your sugar cravings.
Yeah.
So,
So you were saying, babe, basically as a child, almost everybody was addicted to sugar, right?
yeah. And I loved like candy, Skittles. Like I lived for it. I mean, they really marketed it in the 90s to like make it a staple in every child's diet to eat like cereal that had sugar on. I can't even believe myself. I would eat what cinnamon toast crunch.
Oh yeah, I'm
The
remembering.
mere thought, the amount of sugar in cinnamon toast crunch. And did you know they even changed, I think, the cinnamon toast crunch formula so that it has less sugar now? Because before it had so much sugar.
Wow, that's crazy.
I just can't.
Even like psychologically, like we're as a kid when we grow up, like candy is like a reward, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times parents would be like, okay, son, if you do this, or okay, a daughter, if you do this, I'll give you a piece of candy or whatever, trick or treating, or things like that. Like it's like enveloped in our mind that whenever we either eat or whenever we do something good, okay, we deserve some candy.
Yeah.
So it's just a really bad way of like
Treating
psychologically
ourselves.
engraving that into our head, so that now we think, oh, like I need a piece of candy or I need dessert to kind of like reward myself, and if I don't have it, then that means I'm not living my life.
Oh, yeah. Living my life.
Yeah.
Like that's the eating candy and having dessert is like living like your best life. And that's so not true. Like
Yeah.
it's not.
And it's completely addictive. We'll get into the details
Yeah.
later, but like sugar is like it's like a drug. It's actually
It is,
addicting. Your
yeah.
body, like once it has a couple times in a day, in a couple days, it starts to develop a tendency to want it more. Just like nicotine or caffeine, where like your body wants that energy or that spike of insulin. It's now craving the same exact thing.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention you can develop a savory palate. We'll get into how in this
What is a
podcast
savory
episode.
palate? Because I don't know what savory really
Oh,
means.
Okay. So, there's the different flavors that you can taste, sweet, sour, savory, and so on.
Yeah.
And so, if you eat a lot of sugar, you get used to eating sweets, and that becomes your palate. Like, just like, different cultures love their cultural food because they're used to that, and that's how they have developed their palate to get used to simple things, or not simple, to complex spices or whatever it may be. And then some cultures, like American culture, is often more simpler. Like we feed our kids Cheerios and stuff, and then their palate doesn't develop as much as maybe Indian diets because they have so much spices and stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyways, you can develop the taste buds.
Like my
and
dad. My dad cannot eat anything that is complex in his eyes. The man will only eat fries or chicken breast or like
Turkish
grilled
food, Armenian food.
But even anything that's like crazy, like too much flavor, my dad will be like, no, I'm sorry, I will not.
No, but that's because, in my opinion, and I have no idea if I'm right, he grew up with a more simpler diet.
Yeah.
Back then in Turkey, back then, they did not go to all these extravagant restaurants with all these different flavors from different countries the way we eat in America.
Yeah.
They ate gyro, chicken, shepherd's salad, which is cucumber, tomato, onion. Like, he's a
like
simpler
basic
palate.
protein, basic carbs,
rice, potatoes,
with flavors from the culture.
Exactly. So it's not that he's that picky; he's just used to eating that.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's like because he developed it as he grew up, as he throughout his life. The way he ate, he develops that palate. So I get what you mean by the savory palate.
So you kind of have to push yourself to develop a savory palate. And I think that we obviously have done that in our adulthood, like moving through the childhood, like sugar craze phase.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the Airheads, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a month ago, me and Talian, because of the corona situation, we said, let's go on a road trip. So we went on like a 6-hour road trip up the coast of California and drove back. Like, we didn't really stop anywhere except for the beach. Anyways, on the way back, get like 3 more hours, and Talian was like, babe, let's get like an Airhead from the gas station because we were getting gas.
An Airhead. Like,
Airhead,
those
the
blue
candy.
Raspberry flavor I used to love. I haven't had candy in years.
Yeah, me too.
And I literally was like, Sirak, live a little.
And I was like,
exactly
babe,
what we
what's
said
wrong
earlier.
with you?
I connected eating candy to like living my best life.
And I told her, I was actually negative at first. I was like, babe, come on. Like, it's nothing in there. It's disgusting. I don't want it. But, she just wanted to have something because it's a road trip. And, like, there's nothing wrong with having candy. There's nothing wrong.
People have candy on road trips. Why can't I be one of those people sometimes?
Of course. But, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with having a piece of candy, like, here and there, right? You should enjoy yourself. So I was like, let's do it. But I took one bite. I felt like I ate, the plastic chairs? The plastic chairs? I felt like I ate one of the legs of the plastic chair that it just had sugar on top. That was it tasted plastic to me. I couldn't believe
like
it.
Wax.
That used to be so delicious growing up. I would eat 10 pieces at once when I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah, the mini ones.
Yeah.
Oh
and now I couldn't even chew it.
It was like sugar crystals melting in my mouth. And then the flavor was like not like it used to be. When you would eat it, it would explode in your mouth.
Yeah.
None of that. It was like a headache. I only ate half of it, and then we threw the whole thing away. Like, I couldn't even like it.
Yeah, it was a waste, unfortunately.
I, in fact, almost convinced myself that like that was an expired candy, and that's why it was so disgusting. But then I thought about it. I was like, no.
I mean, the real reason is because we've spent so many years kind of like going away from that kind of like sugary stuff, right?
Yeah.
We don't have candy like that anymore. And if we do, it's like chocolate, something that actually has at least some sort of, nutritional thing to it besides just the sugar, right?
Yeah. I know, it's like dark chocolate. You have to get your palate used to it. Even if you don't like it. Even like
no kid likes dark chocolate.
Yeah.
No kid likes dark chocolate.
You just have to force your palate and taste buds to get used to it, which I think I did at one point when I was getting through the cravings of PCOS. And going gluten dairy free and taking Ovasa, all these things helping me get through the hormonal aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then I started loving fat more, like the fat on lamb chops, salty, like, salt on my steak. Like, these types of things were more tasty to me than sugar. And now, like, sugar, sometimes I love it, like a great, like, gluten-free cookie, fine. But that candy was disgusting. And like, I've completely changed my taste buds. for sure.
And you didn't even really try. You weren't like, okay, I'm gonna stop eating candy. You just like naturally.
Yeah, as I managed my PCOS, my cravings went away, and then I did have to try to develop a savory palate. And now we'll get into that
Yeah.
at the end of towards the end of how to develop a savory palate. But before that, we have to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's for sure a difference between PCOS cravings and regular other people's cravings.
We should say right now, if you get cravings on the regular, do not feel bad. There's a reason you're getting those cravings, and it's not the same as the like a regular population without PCOS. Like you're getting different cravings due to your PCOS.
Yeah, exactly. Like your insulin, if you're insulin resistant, which 70% of us are, then we have insulin floating around in our bloodstream. For example, if you eat a big meal or if you don't eat and then you eat your meal, you have a bunch of insulin hormone like in your bloodstream to store what you ate into your cells so that it can be burned and used up. Now, if your cells are resistant to insulin, then the insulin hormone is just left floating in your bloodstream. And, that's when after a while that can cause more cravings, because the more insulin in your bloodstream, the more you want to eat sugar and stuff, because your body thinks that you need to eat more. So after you eat a big meal or something, or dinner or something, you want to eat a cookie because insulin is still in your bloodstream because you're insulin resistant.
And then you're like, why am I hungry? I just ate half an hour ago.
I could eat more. I could have a whole pile of cookies and a cake. Like I totally get it. I felt the same way. And so there's a difference between hormonal cravings and just like another person who has cravings, who can just like resist something. Like sometimes you really, really can't resist. It's crazy. These and we have a whole episode on.
Yeah.
So of course, there are things you can do. Ovasitol is one thing I love.
Yeah.
It helps with cravings in like 15 minutes. I feel better. Like I feel like my insulin resistance like being managed seriously like on the spot. Love that.
Totally agree. It's a big game changer for a lot of sisters who've taken Ovasitol. Helps with cravings, helping with insulin resistance, and a lot more. I mean, it even goes into when you treat insulin resistance. Now it's gonna help with if you're having hair loss and hair growth, because now you're helping your testosterone levels kind of go down.
Exactly.
So it makes a big change. It makes a big change not just for your diet, but also to your other symptoms that are being affected due to your insulin.
Yeah. And another thing that helps aside from Ovasitol is just not consuming sugar, being aware of like what has sugar in it, swapping things out.
And it doesn't mean like, okay, I can't have food with any sugar. It just means being mindful of having something that doesn't like. Take a look at the label. If you see there's been like 15 grams of added sugar, then what you're eating it may not be a good thing. It may be processed. Maybe it has a lot of additives. Maybe the reason they're adding so much sugar into it because it doesn't taste good. So, like look for a better brand. Like don't. Yeah. It doesn't mean like, okay, look at the label. If there's 3 grams of sugar, then it's bad. No, that's not bad at all. Just look for something that stands out as far as sugar goes.
Yeah. So that might lead into the question of how much sugar can I have?
Yeah.
Can I have fruit? Are artificial sweeteners okay? Like, what do I do?
Yes. And your recommendation, which a lot of people always ask, and they're like, what? What
do you mean?
Is
1 piece of fruit a day.
Yes.
Or like a handful of berries, or it's just something that fits in your hand.
Yeah.
Like no more
like
than
one
that.
hand of fruit. So maybe that's 1 apple, maybe a cup of berries, maybe a couple of strawberries, whatever. But the reason being is when you're first managing your PCOS in the beginning, it's very important to keep your sugar low. And fruit, as many of you know, has natural sugar, and doesn't matter, natural or fake, whatever, your body can react the same exact way. So you want to make sure even your fruit is not too much. So
That's
1 fruit a day is important to keep.
That's a good point, because if you can see this incredible sugar-free bakes cookbook that our turtle succulent is standing on, it says sugar-free on the cookbook title, but it's not sugar-free. They've replaced sugar, white cane sugar, with dextrose, honey, maple syrup. So when I bought this back in the day, when I wasn't aware of sugar and all the ins and outs, and didn't have access to a podcast episode like this.
That's right.
I bought this cookbook. I'm like, oh, sugar free. Like this should be good for me. And then I'm like, dextrose, like that's still sugar. Like my insulin
Yeah.
blood sugar is still going to go up. Like, why did I just buy this? This does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cookbook of like baking with like, I
No
don't
sugar
know,
at all.
minimal, like maybe like
Yeah.
apple sauce instead
I'm sure
of
there's a book
sugar.
like that. We'll
Yeah.
have to find something like that.
Well,
But now you know exactly how to do that, so we don't even need a book.
yeah. So this pointless cookbook is sitting here underneath our.
And we should mention, like dextrose and honey and those ones are probably healthier than sugar itself when you look
Cane
at
sugar,
when you look at
airheads.
white sugar, like the compounds in it and how they can actually have. We'll talk about what white sugar can lead to, but basically, it doesn't.
still
It can still raise your
impacts your
insulin, which is the
insulin.
importance here. Like it's not just about okay, white sugar causes this, so let's have this instead. Even if you have normal sugar, it can still bump your insulin. So
Yeah. I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah.
Like everyone's mad at me because I'm saying stop eating honey and fruit. But
let's go into that. So fructose, it's been shown in studies that you
fructose
can
is a type of sugar. Sorry.
sorry fructose. So there's fructose and there's sucrose.
Yeah.
The
Fructose is the type that has fruits, natural sweeteners, honey, coconut sugar, maple syrup, agave.
Yeah.
So this really like relates to the people listening.
Yes. So it's been shown in studies that you can actually cause PCOS just by consuming fructose, a form of sugar found in honey and fruit. Here's a great, interesting study here. One study took a group of mice and gave half of them high fructose corn syrup, and within 8 weeks, the mice developed polycystic ovaries, high androgens, and insulin levels. For women with PCOS, fructose is quickly absorbed into your blood and perpetuates insulin resistance and thus symptoms of PCOS. Yeah, now that is very mind-opening right there. First, let's look at that. They gave a group of mice.
Not women, mice.
Yeah, they gave half of them fructose corn syrup, and within 8 weeks, those mice developed polycystic ovaries.
That blew my mind.
And not
First
just
of all,
that.
what does that look like on a
Yeah.
mouse's ovary?
But not just that. They also developed high androgens, which are the high testosterone leading to hair loss, hair growth, acne,
Stress
and
hormones.
insulin levels. Yes, stress hormones. So it's not just weight gain, but it's also ovaries, high androgens and insulin levels that sugar itself can cause.
Blew my mind, ladies. Let that sink in. Let's
Yeah.
just take a moment.
Yeah.
So it's best to limit your intake of fruits and sweeteners. Even if you put like honey in your tea, try to cut that out. And that leads to your next question in your head. What do I replace them with? Artificial sweeteners? And
No.
my answer to that is no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no. Like, we will tell you how to develop a
And the
savory
reason
palate.
why is because your body. So when you have an artificial sweetener, man, there's a door in the other
Creaking?
room that keeps on
So
creaking
creepy.
because of the window being open, and I'm about to break that door open. Anyway, okay, so with artificial sweeteners, when you take it in, your body, like it's like your body says, "Oh, we just received sugar," because it tastes it.
tastes
Your
it,
brain
yeah.
literally thinks, "Oh, that's sweet," because your body is tasting it. It doesn't decipher the fact that it's real sugar or not because it's tasting it. That's already a signal for the brain to start producing
Sugar.
insulin. And
Insulin.
Sugar. Yeah.
Insulin, and then when your body finds that there is no sugar for the insulin because
Yeah.
it's artificial sweeteners, then you have more cravings.
Exactly. And that's exactly how artificial sweeteners don't work for women with PCOS. It tricks your body into creating insulin, but there's actually no sugar for the insulin to attach to.
We even did a vote in the
I
Instagram
love this.
story polls, and I wanted to like prove my point. And Cyster said, so the question was, do artificial sweeteners help your cravings or make them worse? 22% sisters said it helps. 77% of sisters said that
78,
artificial
right? If it's 22,
sweeteners-
then it should be.
Okay, 78.
Well, remember, there's a 1% that was undecided. So we have 22% said artificial sweeteners help them, but 77% said it made it worse, and 1% they just said,
Or Instagram, it has like some type of glitch with their
Sure.
numbers.
yeah.
Anyways, the engineer has spoken. Basically.
But
yeah. And
going-
I've seen it with patients too.
Yeah.
I've seen it. They're like, okay, like my cravings are getting better and so on. I think I'm going to eat like artificial sweeteners and that'll like help me. with the rest of my craving feeling.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back and they'll be like, everything got worse. Everything was reversed. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't stop eating. And I felt the same way. I used to put those artificial sweeteners like stevia flavored
Yeah, that's the most
lemonade
common one,
powder.
stevia.
It was like lemonade powder. I don't know. I think Minute Maid made it or something. I don't know. And it was pink lemonade. And I put it in my water. This was in college. And I remember like I was in the little like area where everyone hangs out. And I had terrible cravings. Trying to go gluten and dairy free. I see all these bagels. I want to eat them. And then I was like, I have this powder I bought. And I put it in. And I drank a bunch of water and this powder. And I had the biggest headache. I was like so bloated from how much. I don't know why. Oh, I do know why. We'll tell you a study about why.
Yeah, there's a study that goes
At
into
the time, I
artificial
didn't know
sweeteners.
why. I was so bloated. And then my cravings were so much worse. And then I was like, maybe it's just me. And then I became a dietitian, looked around.
Not just you.
And all my patients were saying the same thing.
And there's a couple of studies about artificial sweeteners. We should mention before I get into that. Let's say you have a protein powder and you're not used to cutting out the sweets just yet, but the protein powder has stevia in it. It should be okay because you're trying to introduce protein into your diet to make a higher protein to carb ratio. But try to cut out the protein powders that have artificial sweeteners as you slowly transition. Yeah, like there's one that Talon uses. It's called Floss If You Love. We highly recommend. But any other protein
Garden
powder,
of Life unflavored.
yeah,
It's a little chalky.
Basically look for anything that's dairy and gluten free. And there's a lot of hemp protein powders that do this. And also just take a look for the artificial sweeteners. And if you're like worried about the unflavored stuff, I mean, if you're making a smoothie or a shake, then you probably don't have to worry about it because you just won't taste it at all anyways. You just taste your shake. So, all right. So there's a couple of studies out there
on artificial sweeteners.
Yes. The first one I'm going to mention here. Study shows artificial sweeteners induce glucose intolerance by altering your gut bacteria, which directly contributes to how well you absorb your food. For example, how many carbohydrates and calories you can actually absorb from your food are directly affected by the artificial sweeteners you actually took during that meal. So like how Colleen was saying, she was feeling bloated and like she felt like she couldn't digest, and it was like just weird.
Changing your gut bacteria. And women with PCOS already have a disrupted gut microbiome. So you might already struggle from food sensitivities
and
deficiencies, IBS issues, bloating, and so on. And the last thing you need is something to like make your gut weaker, like artificial sweeteners.
And we talk about, like, again, your gut biome is very important, not just for your like physical health, but also your mental health, as you're finding your gut biome and your neurons in your brain are connected. So it's always good to make sure your gut biome is being taken care of.
Yeah, and you're really doing that when you're going gluten and dairy free and like eating, in a way that's reducing inflammation and because remember that episode about gluten, how I mentioned the lining of your stomach is held together by these tight junctions. And some people who are sensitive to gluten have this protein zonulin that's released and makes that tight junction that holds your stomach together loosen up. And then gluten gets through and so on.
Yes.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, there is that study about artificial sweeteners causing insulin levels to spike when you eat it because your body thinks that you're eating sugar, and then that insulin floating around in your bloodstream makes you have cravings.
Yeah, because your body, again, when you take that artificial sweetener and your tongue tastes it, it tastes like sugar to you, right?
A million times sweeter than sugar.
Yeah, but your brain is thinking the same thing. Oh, I'm tasting sugar, so it must be sugar. Your brain doesn't know that there's a product out there that's called artificial sweetener, and that it's actually not sugar, and that your brain isn't thinking, oh, I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't know that. So think about
or even
that.
Stevia, which is natural.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So and again, based on what Talin said, tricks your body into thinking that you ate sugar, so it creates more cravings, and then the more cravings you have, the more you want to eat the sweet stuff. So the more you want to eat a cookie, or the more you want to add artificial sweeteners, sugar, honey, all that stuff. So it's just like adding on to the your cravings.
Yeah. So how do we get our palate to become a savory palate? The first thing, like we mentioned, is avoiding sugar, and you'll eventually just lose your tolerance to it. So, of course, you're going to say, what about my cravings and so on? That's my next point. Managing cravings. Going gluten and dairy free. Maybe this will help. Of course, dairy spikes your insulin levels, which makes you more craving and stuff. That's why we're like addicted to like cheese and sugar and this and that. So going gluten and dairy free, taking your Ovasitol, sleeping better.
Oh yeah, sleeping can have a huge impact.
Yeah.
Because if you're not getting enough sleep, your body basically doesn't have enough energy. So your body has to compensate for that. How does it do that? It makes you more hungry because it wants energy
30%.
because it's not getting it through sleep.
30% more cravings if you have 5 hours of sleep missing from your week of rest.
Yeah. And if you guys remember, we had that podcast episode about PCOS and how to get better sleep. And we talked about how people who don't get enough sleep, usually if they're like getting 5 to 6 hours, they actually end up consuming more calories every single day. And that results to like thousands of calories more every year. And that's a result of not getting enough sleep because your body wants energy, but it's not getting it naturally. So it's like, okay, we need food. And then you have cravings for that reason.
Sounds awful.
Yeah. And then a third tip you can do to develop a savory palate is experiment and find foods you love that aren't sweet. Maybe, like we all love that, like, oh, you put something sweet in your mouth and it tastes amazing, right? Maybe find that thing that's not sugar, but maybe like Ty mentioned earlier, when she eats lamb chops, now she loves that fatty piece of the lamb chop. It's very savory, and it's something she grew to like. I'm sure she didn't always love that.
Love
right?
it. I did, but
You
then
did? Okay. You
but
did.
then like
I didn't, because I didn't used to like the fat on the meat, but now I actually like it because it's
I
like
do
nice
love
like
it.
taste to it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked it, but once I directed my attention towards things like that, they started taking up more space in my mind than the obsession with sugar.
Yeah.
And then that's part of developing a savory palate. Not to mention things, experimenting in the kitchen. Like just the other day, I made these popsicles made of strawberries, lemon, and basil and water. And then Ovasitol. And I blended it up in the blender. It was 6 popsicles. So I poured 6 Ovasitol packets in it. And then, of course, I said like 1 fruit a day or a handful of strawberries. I'm pretty sure that popsicle is like less than a handful of strawberries. And I experimented it, and it turned out to be this delicious replacement for popsicles and sweet, ice cream and stuff.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
really
actually
impressed with
healthy.
myself, you guys. Somebody made it, posted it on the stories. She's like, oh, I put green tea in it instead of water. I'm like,
Boom.
oh my God.
Had a special taste. I bet you can just freeze green tea and Avastal and you have ice cream, basically, popsicle, no?
Why not?
Yeah.
Dairy-free milk, coconut milk.
But there you go. You just replace ice cream with basically a healthy replacement that's also going to help you with your cravings.
I'm going to go nuts with this concept, ladies. You'll see it in the stories. I'm going to make ice cream with like berries and Ovasitol mixed in, coconut cream, whatnot.
So going into that basically is try to experiment and find some foods that maybe you already love, but maybe if you add a couple of different things to it.
Oh, so, dark chocolate that you really like from, where do they Swiss dark chocolate, like some expensive, like nice dark chocolate to get your mind off of sugar that you might find in granola and candy bars and whatnot.
Yeah. So try to find a different interest that maybe your palate will like more than sugar, which I guarantee you will, because your body tends to like things that are more nutrient dense. Once you figure that out, your body's never going to want sugar again. Once your body realizes that, oh, this and this has more to me, your body is going to be like, I don't need that sugar. It has nothing beneficial for me.
Yeah. You just have to give your body those things and eventually get used to them. And then the final point, you go.
No, I want you to go.
Okay, fine. Learn to savor your food. Close your eyes while you eat. Train your palate to taste all the flavors.
Yes. Don't rush.
Slowly.
I would say I do the same mistake a lot of times where I'm really hungry and I'll just like, and the food is so delicious that Tanya has made, and I'll just like, and I'll just like go through it, and then I'm like, okay, I need a second plate. But if I had probably gone through like at
A
like
little
half
slower.
the speed or
Drink
something.
some water,
One
relax.
plate might have been enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like have some salad for a second and not just eat. You know, it makes a big difference.
It does. And I've noticed that, let's say my blood sugar is low and I haven't like eaten dinner, or like we had to like wait at a restaurant for a long time and I'm just starving and stuff. Okay, you sit down, the food came, and now you're going to go nuts. And basically keep in mind that it takes 15 minutes for what you're eating to hit your bloodstream and like gain your blood sugar control and whatnot. So you sit down and you're really excited, and in 15 minutes you eat your entire meal, and then like you want to keep eating and you just can't stop. Like, slow down, relax, give yourself some time to absorb what you ate, get your blood sugar back up, and like then continue to eat, being mindful of how much your body wants and needs. And after I learned this, I actually noticed, like, because when your blood sugar is low, you're like dying. Okay, I've noticed like 15 minutes into the meal, I'm like back to normal.
Yeah. And just understand that there is a 15-minute delay. And it's been shown that the stomach and your stomach will tell the brain it's full a little bit later than it should, because there's a delay. There's I don't know, the guy is taking the stairs instead of the elevator up to the brain, basically. So because of that, there's a 15-minute delay. So just try to understand that and try to slow down that time. So maybe if if you're eating by in talking and just kind of trying to savor the flavors, your body will tell itself that it's full a lot sooner than it would have if you ate if you were trying to rush through it because you're really hungry. So just try to wait that time period.
Yeah.
And
turn the TV off is one thing.
Oh yeah.
Light a candle is another.
Yeah, talk with your spouse or your family or maybe your friend, or and I know during these times a lot of us are quarantined. Hey, we can do a Zoom call or a FaceTime call during dinner, and maybe your friend and you eat dinner at the same time.
Yeah.
We did this. We did a couples date.
Oh yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, me and Talion did it with my friend and his girlfriend, and we just did a double date via FaceTime.
Yeah. I couldn't we were on the FaceTime for 3 hours. I can't believe it. It was as if they were in our house.
Basically. And another thing I want to give for that tip is there's this little thing that I learned. I mentioned this before, is that there's we get a lot of mouth pleasure from eating sugary food. It's you put the food in your mouth and there's this spike, almost your
burst.
Like a burst in your mouth,
Skittles.
right? And then your brain gets used to that feeling. It's not even the fact that it's going down your throat and you like being full on it. It's literally the mouth pleasure that you get from putting the cookie or the sugary thing into your mouth, and kind of understanding that, and the fact that it's more like a instant gratification rather than filling up your nutritional needs or what you actually need. Then you kind of start to understand that I don't really need this. So just kind of making that mindset thing about it. Oh, this is just for mouth pleasure. I don't really need this. Then you kind of push it aside. Maybe not at first, but it's slowly that's what somebody told me, and it kind of helped me kind of stop eating sugar. So that's why I wanted to mention that.
Feeling informed about these types of things that are physiologically happening, the mouth pleasure or absorbing things in 15 minutes, keep these in your mind so that while you're eating, you're okay, I'm fine.
These are all little things.
I can handle this.
I love how you said that, babe. I love that. The mouth pleasure, the 15-minute delay, the artificial sweeteners tricking your brain. These are all little things that they're not tricks. They're how your body is actually working. Your body has its own nuances. So you just have to learn how your body is. And I promise you, once you learn that, you'll see how you can easily manipulate your body's cravings. Not manipulate, but basically control it, because you know how your body...
a savory palate.
Yeah, you know how, and you know why your body is reacting a certain way.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Ladies, let us know how your development of a savory palate is going.
Yes. And so we always like to ask you, sisters, how you're basically managing your, the topic, right? Today's topic is sugar. So we asked you, sisters, how do you avoid sugar cravings? And we got some messages back, so we'll read them right now. Why don't you read the first couple, babe?
Okay, Songbird for Justice says, eating high protein meals and drinking a ton of water before I eat.
Very smart.
That's smart.
The water before eating is really smart because it fills
if you're
up.
dehydrated,
Yeah.
then you're hungrier and you have more cravings actually.
Yeah.
So make sure you're hydrated. And then also, what were you saying?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because we should have mentioned that earlier too. A lot of times when you're dehydrated, your body gets hungry because it's seeking water, and there is
juice, Gatorade,
and there's actually water in food. So your body will trick you into eating food because water has food in it too, like a small percent, like some percentage.
Yeah, and eating high protein, especially for breakfast, is great for your blood sugar. I've been preaching this for so long, ladies. 35 to 40 grams of protein. You want it nice and high because protein takes longer to absorb and digest and burn. And so when you eat protein as opposed to carbs, which is quickly burned, you are staying fuller longer. You're burning it. It's taking some time, and you're not having a blood sugar roller coaster, which is what causes a pump of insulin every time you eat something, and overcompensating insulin levels, causing cravings.
Yeah, and a high protein diet will also help you kind of change your body's composition into being a little bit more lean muscle because it's not having a lot more protein and kind of reducing like the fat in the body. So it does a lot.
Because muscle picks up sugar from your bloodstream.
Yeah. Alrighty, next one. Sherry says, I've had chocolate cravings, but with Ovasitol, it has decreased. Nice.
Girl,
yeah.
Yes.
Ovasitol really helps. And for chocolate, try to look for those dark chocolate ones that don't have added sugar and milk chocolate and stuff like that. The dark chocolates usually are kind of like pure in the fact that they don't have additives in there.
Yeah.
I recommend like Trader Joe's has that big brick.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
If it's dairy free though, check.
Yeah, make sure it's dairy free.
Dishan Agapal says, I have a piece of dark chocolate. Great.
Good.
Lay Rose 21 says Ovasitol.
Perfect. Great. Himal Shapira says, I drink green tea. Great one.
Great one.
Yeah. Make sure it's decaf just to be sure. But yeah, green tea is great. It helps you get energy, helps with cravings because it's,
lowering testosterone.
Yeah, lowering testosterone.
3 cups a day. So good for you. Becoming
This username is funny. Becoming wiggly tough.
Oh my god. Sleep and Ovasitol. Perfect.
That is great.
Sleep's so important for cravings.
Yeah, sleep is good, important for managing your cravings, and Ovasitol too. I love it.
Yay.
So that was basically, we have a win of the week, but that was like the topic about, PCOS and sugar and, how much you're supposed to consume and how to kind of reduce the cravings. Try to listen to the episode a couple more times to really understand the nuances, the little, details we gave here and there.
We put so much information. It's like worth listening to twice.
Oh yeah, always. I mean, when I listen to informational podcasts, I usually listen to them like 2-3 times because it's hard to like understand everything the first time.
You're like doing something probably while you're listening, driving or like cooking or something.
I have my fantasy football podcast. I listen to like 2 times each.
Really?
Because I gotta win, son.
Oh my gosh.
Alrighty.
Read the win, babe.
As always.
Speaking of winning.
As
winning
always,
in the sisterhood?
We always announce a win of the week, which is a sister who's managing her PCOS and losing weight like a boss. Mm-hmm. And today's winner is coming from here. She says, Tallene, I just wanted to say a big thank you for what you've done for me. I just had an appointment with one of my doctors and found out I've lost 27 pounds in 3 months.
Wow.
Great. I found you at the beginning of my journey, and thanks to your advice, I started taking Ovasitol, went gluten and dairy-free, and gave up caffeine. I finally feel like myself again for the first time in years. I've recently joined the sisterhood and started Sidak's workouts. Nice. And they've left me sore, but feeling so accomplished. You're truly the dynamic duo all of us sisters need. Wow.
Aww.
That's so sweet. Thank you for those kind words.
Seriously.
I'm so glad to help you because those resources, like you mentioned, the sisterhood, but like the tips that we give, gluten, dairy free, and all the tips about caffeine free, it's to help you achieve the results that you want to achieve. And you did all the work. You listened to us, you applied it to your own daily life, and you were able to take it out. That's not easy to do.
And it takes a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of like self-compassion. And yeah, we're over here preaching all this advice, but you really took the time to do it, apply it, see what's working for you, analyze your body and see if it's giving you any benefit, and then continuing to do it as you feel better, because not everyone sees 27 pounds in 3 months, but you know, even if it was 5 pounds in 3 months and you feel a lot better, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, because it takes time for you to realize what's happening and start to one by one, because we always say don't do it all at once, right? It takes time, and you don't even know if you should do this or that first. It's about finding the root causes and figuring out the situation. So congrats to you, but also congrats to the sisters that listen to the podcast every week, because you are doing something too. You are listening to a source where you can learn, where you can apply what you learn. So
you're doing great,
all
sister.
of you, everybody listening, congrats. In addition to the sister,
we will hear testimonials from you two in no time.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, what do we got going today for the rest of the day before we go off, babe? We're going to go to the garden place again and get some more stuff.
Yes. More plants for the crazy plant lady. More window boxes to hang over our balcony rail.
We actually need to pick them up today.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Alrighty. Thank you to everybody for listening. As always, we'll be back next week with another episode and
of A Sister and Her Mister. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out The Sisterhood. It's my monthly membership site where sisters just like you are learning how to move through the stages of PCOS. From stage 1, cold and alone at the doctor's office, to stage 5, nailing the PCOS lifestyle, gluten and dairy free. Get ready to finally feel in control of your body again.
Cyster.